What is happening, everybody? My name is Julius, and I'm here once again for another chapter, another installment of Ignore This Podcast. It is the 17th chapter, which means we are very close to being legal. The next chapter we'll have is the 18th, and I promise you a very exploitive and very saucy show. But now let's talk to our favorite someone I've known for a very long time and have done podcasts before with, but that was in another life. It is my friend, Mr. Hector. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on this.
Once again,
yeah.
After years of the last podcast we did, I believe, was our review discussion of Rashomon, because we went to the theater, the Laemmle Theater over in Pasadena to see it. Yeah. R.I.P. Now it's Landmark Theater. Landmark Theater is cinemas.
I don't think
they don't. They just call it Landmark.
I don't know if that part matters, but it's Landmark.
it's a new theater.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a theater for the independent film, or is it just another theater amongst many?
Well, I think most Landmark theaters do play mainstream movies and independent movies,
mm-hmm.
So probably keep that sort of idea and that sort of movement going.
Yeah.
And of course, Laemmle's is known to play just strictly and probably only independent cinema.
I remember by the end of the Laemmle's run, they started to play like bigger movies. They attract a bigger audience.
Yeah,
you know?
I think in a way to sort of keep the business going and to keep it moving. But then again, I think Laemmle's has already been known to be so kind of like a little bit obscure. And I mean, if you go see a movie, you're not going to go to Laemmle's, you're going to go to AMC, you're going to go to Regal, you're going to go to Edwards, any of those kind of movies, because that's what you're known for, you know? Like you see on Fandango, like
mm-hmm.
Laemmle's, Pasadena, like, oh, I'm going to go to AMC. Like AMC rolls off the tongue, you know?
Yeah. Well, I loved going to Laemmle. I think the last time I went was with a friend, Kathy. We went to see that Nicolas Cage film.
Oh, was it a Massive Weight of...
Yeah. And you actually got to see that before me, because you go to some of the screeners.
Did we go
advanced
together?
Screening. I didn't go with you to that one.
Oh, I went to go see the Northman.
The Northman.
Yeah.
We went to see the Northman over in...
Burbank.
In Burbank.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to see, because you don't have your phone. You don't have... anything.
Yeah.
Just like maybe a book or something.
It's like how they did back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The advanced screenings, they just want to get
feedback.
A feedback.
Yeah.
So they can change the movie ahead of time to see what mass markets will like.
Yeah.
Mostly. And have you seen The Northman since?
Yeah, I saw it, and I mean,
was it any different? How different was it, if at all?
I think as a I don't know. I mean, I'm not really a fan. I mean, I appreciate Robert Eggers as a filmmaker and what he's doing with his movies, and going to that movie to see sort of the rough, like I guess it was the rough cut because some of the effects weren't done yet, and it was huge. Like it was a huge, bloody and sort of very insane. Movie that from watching The Witch and watching The Lighthouse, you've never really could tell that this is the same guy.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost sort of like it was big in a way of like Ridley Scott big. You know what I mean? Oh
yeah, that's a good comparison.
Yeah. So, and then I think there's a couple scenes in that movie where, you know, there's that long take where they go over that big they go invade a village, and it's this long take where they're just going there, you know, killing people and raping.
Oh, everybody.
Yeah, everybody's
they're killing
in
everybody.
Their way, yeah. And in the movie, because I went to go see it again, in the movie, like the extra released, it's that scene is sort of they push it in. So they edit it in such a way where you just hear like someone fall and die. You don't actually see the blood.
Oh, okay.
And so that was weird. And they also censored some of the nudity. They censored some of the gore as well. And I think they trimmed it in a way too. I mean, watching it, you're just like, this is like what, like, knowing that there's more to it, that's what's really disappointing about it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing the movie initially and remembering it because it is a very brutal, at least what we watched was very brutal and very honest to what that time is, because it's set during the Norse time, right?
Yeah.
The time of the Norse gods, and they're talking about Valhalla and everything. And we know Thor now as, we know him as the superhero, the kind of goofy character. But that movie, at least what we saw, the advanced screening, wasn't like, it was a very real adaptation of that mythology.
Yeah.
A
lot of research and a lot of research was done for that movie. As you can tell, I mean, some of the set design, some of the wardrobe, the costume was all part of that. I mean, I think that was amazing about it too, is that, like Robert Eggers movies kind of they focus on sort of the storytelling, and they also focus on the set design.
Right.
And so having a movie that big and that expensive, of course, unfortunately for independent filmmakers, is that they have to deal with the studio.
Yeah.
And the studio's like, there's a scene in that movie where Alex Skarsgård's character goes to confront his mom. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And it
was like the biggest what the F of the whole theater experience,
Yeah. And
did they cut that out?
I'm gonna get to this.
Oh, okay.
And so like that, I think if you've seen this movie, you probably know, like, it's a very weird and sort of like what the fuck is this? And so in the screening that Julius and I saw, is that like his mom is like, do you like kind of like what is it, like she rips off her top. Her character is very manipulative because she turned on her son. It's very much like turned on her son and her husband for the brother. This new the brother. That's right. Yeah, and she's an opportunist in that she will go for the winning side, and she starts like you said in the scene where Skarsgård's character like does a whole pillage and is murdering everybody in this village. He confronts her and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, you're done. And then she starts like coming on to him. His mother starts coming on to him, and so that scene is cut. Really? So wow. It's like not as intense and not as sexual as it was in the actual screen. And then she also in that scene, she like rips off her top and you see like her cleavage. And in the movie, in what they put out, is that she's she has a bra on. Oh, and it's like kind of just like, and he just kills, like, he kills his son and he kills her. Yeah. Wow. So they cut that completely out. Yeah. Wow. And I think that's what's probably happening. I mean, on the topic of like, of independent filmmakers who are coming with the new horror, like Ari Aster, the same thing happened with him with Disappointment Boulevard. I think it's like almost 4 hours long or 3 hours long, and they're still in the editing room trying to cut it down. Oh my God. I mean, what's funny about that is that the whole point of the advanced screening is to gauge the audience. And hearing what you said, it's like, I can totally picture someone in our screening being like, that scene was weird. Why was it in there? Yeah. And it's gone now, Yeah. That's so crazy. It is. I mean, I think that's like one of the many issues with, like, I guess with art, and is that it's all, if it's meant to invoke some sort of feeling, of course, then it's doing its job, right? Yeah. So I mean, Robert Eggers and his brother were trying to invoke a feeling and trying to invoke this did happen. Yeah. you know, and I mean, if you're offended, I mean, hey, like, they have nothing. They don't have cell phones. They don't have anything. They can easily die. Right. With just like getting their finger cut. They get infected. That's. And it's just so crazy. I don't know. That's what kind of sucks now. I mean, you see that with movies, and then there's other screenings that are also that I see, and I wonder, the same thing. Probably the same thing does happen. Yeah, I mean, there's a great story by Kevin Smith. He was talking about being in an advanced, or like one of those test screenings. Yeah. He was in the back, like in the back of the audience to see there, and he didn't like being there. And it was for, I think, Chasing Amy. And have you seen that? It's one of my favorite movies. Yeah. Oh, okay. So, with Jason Lee's character, Brody, he comes out at the end as gay. Oh. And he's like, that's his name, right? Brody? Brody, yeah. Brody's his name? Something white. Right. Something white. He comes out and he says that I'm gay, because the whole movie, the conceit of the film is that Ben Affleck starts a friendship with this girl who he's interested in, but the girl's a lesbian, and then their romance comes into play after. Yeah, I think that's describing the movie is what makes it problematic, right? Yeah. But I love the film, and you love the film. It's really good. It's his best film, in my opinion. I love
in my opinion, it's his best film. But he's watching the film, and there's a guy in the audience who's like, I love Brody. Brody is me. He's like a representation of me. And then he comes out as gay. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? And then Kevin Smith yells from the back, it means you're fucking gay. So yeah, those test screenings, they'll go in any which direction.
Yeah, I don't think they really benefit anything. I mean, they probably benefit the consumer of anything, right?
Yeah, well, they it's not based on, if you're gonna say to the one you and I went, right?
Yeah.
People's complaints, I think, largely aren't for the movie's benefit.
Yeah.
Like what you just said about the consumer. It's about what's comfortable to them.
Yeah.
But that's not, like, we're not, there's a story here that needs, that they wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And to
that
cut
needs
it
to be
out,
told,
that
right?
needs to be told.
Yeah.
And because you were just offended, or because you were uncomfortable because of Nicole Kidman's character actually like coming on,
Yeah.
but like the movie's not saying that's okay, you know.
It isn't. She dies.
She is killed
Yes,
right then and there, you know. But people get offended because of that,
weird.
and then it's cut out, and then there's no conversation about that.
You're like left with an idea.
Yeah.
It's just like, then why the fuck did I watch this then if it's not even completed?
Yeah, you're left with a less honest product.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was talking to someone who, his name's Saga MC. He's a artist. He's a rapper artist. And he was talking about how when you put a project out there, something you worked on, it's not pure anymore. You know, what do you think about that? Do you agree with that? Or, you know, because you're into the whole film, everything, filmmaking, writing. So what do you think about that?
Repeat the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you think that when you create a project and you put it out there for people's consumption and their criticisms, do you think it becomes less pure?
I don't know. I mean, I think one of, like, being someone who is an artist or whatever, or as a filmmaker in general, when you go to like film classes or film school, you have to show your work.
Yeah.
You have to show, and people have to critique it. The professor has to critique it. Your friends and your peers have to critique it. People have to look at it, and it's like the worst. It's like, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's like having a microscope on you, because it's like, why would you want, like, you know, people are like, this is like bad, like, why is it like this, why is it like that, and I'm like, I just thought it was cool, you know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
See, it's, for me, it's like it's like defensive, but I think ultimately, if you truly do believe, if you have a project, like, you know, of course, I love to write things, and you know, I'm for this class that I have to make this documentary, so I mean, I want the best out of it. I mean, I want to put it on my portfolio. I want to, you know, show it to people. I want to put it on my reels. I want people to look at it. So I want it to be good, you know? So I guess you just have to be comfortable with the fact that once you finish it, like, you know, tweak it and polish it to the best of your thing. And if, you know, people don't like it, I mean, at least they fucking watched it, right?
Yeah, that's true. You got your stuff out there. You completed it.
Yeah.
You know, so you automatically are in a different type of echelon when you create something and you put the work into it, you know. I've seen all sorts of criticism regarding the current state of film because, you know, right now it's big blockbusters and it's plans and it's cinematic universes and everything. And I know when we go see films together, it's usually the independent stuff or the more the less not the better stuff usually, and not the blockbuster.
Yeah.
Let's say, is that something that you are just more accustomed to? Something you perform more?
I mean, I think it's like my favorite movies are the ones. I mean, every movie, regardless that is a blockbuster, regardless that it's part of a sequel or a trilogy, it's unique. You know, someone wrote it, some people did research on it, but, you know, like my favorite movies, there's no fucking sequel to it. I don't mean to come off as sort of like I don't know, like better or anything like that, but I mean
correct, just the right opinion.
I've always loved like Richard Linklater.
Oh, okay.
And to able to sort of create a story and to create something that's so unique and so pure. And, I love the slice of life. I love when you're able to tell a romance, whether it be good or bad, or someone's upbringing, whether, the trials and tribulations of anybody, really. Those are like my favorite kind of movies because it's a character study and it's someone, this person can never, this is like a fucking fake person. Like Cliff Booth isn't real.
Yeah.
And like, that's like what gravitates me is that the person who created this, and, when I was a kid, I loved, blockbusters. Like I think 2000s were Michael Bay years.
Michael Bay on the
like Transformers, like 4 or 5. I mean, like I remember, like I would go to the theater with my father because my father would only like to see like blockbusters, big things, Michael Bay stuff.
Yeah.
And I think once you like. I mean, Julius and I both have a very big. We love movies and we love film.
Yeah, film in general. Yeah,
and I think with anything that you do like and you do love and have a passion for, you want to know like what's the best. You want to sort of dig deeper. You want to see like this is what they fuck. This is like what they watch in Europe. This is what they watch in Korea.
Yeah.
This is what they in the whole world of film. It's so much bigger than American cinema.
Yeah,
and I think. And also, it's best to also support like local independent movies as such. I mean that could be you, and that is going to be you and me. You want to support them as much. So I mean, I don't know, man. I think I'm just running around.
No, it's a great example of what you're talking about. Is a movie that I have talked about in a couple different podcasts, especially during the Halloween season with my friend Andrew. It's the ABCs of Death. Have you heard of that? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, have you seen both? Because there are two films.
Yeah, it's like I've seen them on Netflix years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good example of the variety that's out there when it comes to film, because you got movies from not only different countries and different filmmakers, but different like budgets and different visions. Because the idea of the film very quickly is there are obviously the letters of the alphabet. They got, I think it's 26, right?
26 or 27.
26 or 27.
I think like A is apocalypse or something.
Yeah. They get different filmmakers for each letter and make a little short film about death regarding that letter. They get to choose the letter. You get to guess while the movie's on and everything. And that's, I think, the best example of looking at what film has to offer in terms of the medium.
Yeah, their interpretation, or however someone could perceive love differently from you from across the world, and having them tell a love story might be so different. You never thought about that,
Yeah. Have you seen The Big Sick?
No.
Of the Kumail Nanjiani film. It's very good. It's like it's a romantic comedy, but it's like not the type you would picture from someone like Kumail Nanjiani. Not because of anything else other than his type of comedy, because it's very much like I don't want to say Judd Apatow, but almost like
in that same realm.
In that realm, and it's very like honest look at love, like what you talked about, and relationships in general, and how people like fuck them up, so you don't, it's really cool when you see something unexpected from someone who you thought you saw everything from. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Is there any examples similar to that you have?
I think like I think who has a really cool filmography is like Alfonso Cuarón.
Yeah.
Having like, I think his second movie or second or third movie is Y Tomo También. I think that's like 2003 or something, and he co-wrote that with his brother, and he made like other movies before that were for companies or whatever, and this is a movie that he wanted to do. It's like, that's really cool. And then he goes off and make fucking Children of Men, and then he makes Gravity, and then he makes he's the only person, I think, besides David Yates to direct a Harry Potter film.
Yeah, Harry Potter,
Prisoner of Azkaban.
Prisoner of Azkaban.
One of the coolest ones.
Yeah, I think it might be the best one of them, because it's such a unique evolution of that, where you start to introduce the darker elements in that story. Because before it was like Chris Columbus, I think.
Chris Columbus directed the first one, yeah.
Yeah, I think he did the first two, actually. And those are very, like, kiddie-oriented, because they are kids, you know? But the 13th, or the 13th, the third film, they start bringing in the darker elements.
Yeah, the Dementors. Yeah. And, like, there's that whole entire, where they have to, is it Order of the Phoenix? Or I don't know if it's this one, but where he starts to, like, rally up other, you know, people.
Yeah, it is that one.
Yeah, and they started, you know, what's that spell?
The one against the Dementors is the
Expelliarmus.
No, it's Expecto Patronum. That's what it was.
And like that, it's like and that movie is so scary because they're Dementors, and they're sort of having, you know, it's like you literally having light versus darkness. You know, there's that scene at the end where he's at the lake and all the Dementors are getting at him, and he says Expecto whatever Patronum, and you just see that. And like, I don't think anybody could really recreate that. I mean, I look up to him, like he's an amazing film director, you know, and he made Roma, and then and then I think he has a show coming up. I don't know.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to TV right now.
Yeah, and that's somebody, like, once you follow a director writer's sort of filmography, you get to say like, oh, that's really cool. Like, same thing with like Richard Linklater. You know, he made A School of Rock, and he also
one of my favorite films.
Yeah. And then I wish I knew that before I watched, because I never would expect that Richard Linklater would make School of Rock. And then, you know, years before that, he also made, you know, Before and After Sunrise, whatever, I don't know, the Before trilogy.
Yes,
like one of the best one of my favorite romantic movies ever.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that's what it is to be like a master filmmaker, a master artist. You know, you're able to be versatile.
Yeah,
in that visual medium.
Another example of someone like that, a director like that, is Danny Boyle.
Oh yeah. What is it? It was 82 weeks. What is it?
It was he did 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later. And I heard an interview with him a couple of years ago, and it was an interview from a whole bunch of years ago, where he was talking about his approach to making films, and he goes for ideas and genres that he's not really familiar with, and he did that with 28 Days Later. He didn't know much about zombie films, he didn't see many, but his friend, his screenwriter friend,
Alex Garland.
Okay, see, there you go. That guy knew everything about. He was a zombie expert. Like, he was the guy that Danny Boyle was like, dude, you gotta. I want to make a zombie film. You're the guy I need to talk to.
And not even that movie used digital cameras.
Oh, that's right.
Movies, digital cameras.
Yeah, and it has that kind of look to it, almost that, like, it has a very early 2000s vibe to it, but it's to the film's benefit, I think, because it's very claustrophobic, very nihilistic. There's the hope at the end and everything, but it's very dreary. And I like that he goes with each film and he prefers to go with a completely blank slate, like with Slumdog Millionaire. I think that's when the interview happened, because he was promoting Slumdog.
It's like 2008, 2009.
Yeah. So a while ago, he was talking about how he approaches filmmaking, and he did the same thing for that, where he learned about India, he learned about the culture, the people, and everything, growing up in that system, the classism, the class warfare within that country, because it's really bad.
Yourself in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's amazing.
Yeah, and all the things you learn is incredible, you know?
You
like,
get to show that.
Yeah, you get to present it in a beautiful way. I mean, have you seen any of his stuff?
I saw 127 Hours.
Oh yeah, that was his James Franco film. Yeah. Oh
Isn't
shoot,
that crazy?
Yeah.
My favorite movie. I mean, I'm not that familiar with all his movies, but I'm familiar with his filmography. But I haven't watched all his movies. But, you know, I was at Trainspotting.
Oh yeah,
that's like that. I think that's like 1990s. Yeah, that's a movie that pretty much, that's like like just watching that, like you can tell that this is a master. You know, all the sequences, the musics, the cameras, the lights, that whole entire scene where he has to go to the dirtiest toilet.
Oh my god,
like that. I mean, that's he's able to do that, and all the baby stuff. You know,
oh
the
my god,
addiction. You know, it's like like Clockwork Orange. It's like
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a good comparison.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen Trainspotting, but
Yeah.
it's one of the most memorable films
Yeah, yeah.
I've ever watched.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, there are some aspects of it because it deals with drug use and everything that are almost like some segments in the film that are almost like Tim Burton a bit in terms of, like how he stretches the landscape and stretches like the apartment and everything, you know?
It reminds me of like Terry Gilliam.
Oh yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Terry Gilliam, that's probably a better example.
And that sort of, and it kind of gives off like there's some techniques you see in it that you see like in The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
You know, like when he falls into the floor.
Yeah.
Or when he's floating. Just that when he overdoses and you see him sink.
Yeah.
And there's a whole entire perspective of
Oof. Yeah.
And then you know
crazy.
And it's like that, and it's going to the hospital. And it's just like it's an amazing movie. Yeah.
Speaking of Terry Gilliam, a movie I watched of his that I had heard about for years because of it, a significant player in the film, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, which is Heath Ledger's last film.
Oh wow!
And because a lot of people associate, The Dark Knight as being his last film, but this was his last actual film, and he couldn't complete it for obvious reasons, and they got like stand-ins like Jude Law and Johnny Depp for his character for the really trippy sequences. And I'm not a big fan of the film, but it is one of those movies that has ideas that are very vivid, and I'm hoping for more movies like that that aren't afraid of, because we went through an advanced screening and we know how easily, and again, I'm not trying to sound better also, but it's easy to confuse people, I think, when it comes to films. And I want more movies that are willing to do that, They're willing to take that chance.
Yeah, and I think that's hard, especially now. I mean, I think people, I think it's just the internet in general, that people are able to spread their opinions and misconstrued art in such a way. I mean, I think, I don't know, it's so stupid. Like, I remember when Black Widow came out, and I remember people would screenshot that scene where she gets blown up. And it's like a horrible CGI. Yeah. I'm like, this movie sucks. And I'm like, well, she obviously, like, it's just like people love to talk shit. Right. And then, people are able to show everything about everything everywhere on internet, which kind of ruins it. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the benefits of, like, going to, like, I went to go see Don't Worry Darling at Edwards in Alhambra. Yeah. And I went there with it sounded interesting. I loved Booksmart. Olivia Wilde's first film was really good. And I like Florence Pugh, and I was like, oh, Chris Pine's in it too. He's a very handsome man. Yeah. and I went, like, people who were in this movie were like really like, oh, it's interesting. Nick Kroll was in it.
Yeah, Nick Kroll's in there. Who else is
Harry Styles is in it.
Harry
so
Styles,
like
Constance Wu.
Yeah, and then all of the controversies around it. It's like, wow, this is like a movie. Like, like, oh, this is like what it was like if people would read People magazine is happening in this movie, you know what I mean? Right, yeah. It's publicized, Jason Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde's divorce papers and all that stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That did happen.
And then Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde might have had a relationship while they were married, and all this custody, but like, it's crazy. And then Florence Pugh not advertising on Instagram. Like, it's a crazy. And I went to it and I was like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go. And it was all right. But the worst thing about it is that there was like a row of like 8 kids in front of me, and those 8 kids wouldn't like shut up. And so it was like, anytime something crazy, like, oh my god, or like, he's gay, or like, they would say like things that kids would say. And it's like, I think that also ruined the experience. And I think if you could, like, if movie theaters could, or people could, is that you just like enjoy it, you know what I mean? I think once you go to like movie theaters that show like, the Arrow, or the Landmark, or the Newark, or the New Beverly, or Brain Dead, or any of these theaters that show that the whole entire purpose that this is a theater is just to show fucking movies. It's not for profit. It's for the art. And you see nobody on their fucking phone. You see nobody talking in the movie because they're here for the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would they? Yeah, they're here.
Why are you here if not for the film? Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think like theaters like that are like. It's so like I'm gonna cry. Like it's like the best thing ever. Like,
I went to the Vista only one time.
What'd you see?
I went to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh shit!
And it was projected in film in I think 70 millimeter. So you saw the spots on the screen and everything. It was great. It was really grainy and all that, and the sound was great. And it was an event. It was the event you're talking about because the Vista is a very
That's
deceptively. It's on Sunset.
Yeah, I've been there. I saw They Live.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, then it's a very deceptively big theater. Mm-hmm. Like you go in there and you don't expect it to be as huge. Big as it is. So the amount of people that were in there, like sardined in there, it was an event where people were cheering and people were laughing and people were just.
It's the best.
It is, and. As far as I could tell, I didn't see many people on their phones or whatever. I was a bit distracted, but that's a whole other story. I just know that going to those theaters that you're talking about, and it's not an elitist thing to say you want to go to the movie theater to enjoy the movie, you know?
I'm paying like, almost $20 for that shit, dude.
Yeah.
So,
and at the main chains more so, you're paying.
Except for Sundays.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Have you been to the Cinépolis over in Pico Rivera?
No, I mean, I haven't really gone to theaters. I've been busy with work and school, but
right.
You know, I've been trying to. I think, like my go-to theater is probably like the AMC
in Burbank,
Monterey Park.
Oh, Monterey. Okay, yeah.
Or of course, I love Brain Dead Studios. I don't know if you've ever been. Brain Dead Studios is on Fairfax, and I've seen I don't know maybe like 10 or 12 movies there, and it's like the most. It's like it's like punk. It's like sick. It's like oh shit. Like people are grimy. People are smoking cigarettes out there. There's no one there. I mean. People, you go in there, you get checked for your ticket. Sometimes there's none. You just fucking walk in. Like, who the fuck cares?
Oh, damn. Okay.
You can go in there and you can sneak a forward in your pants. No one's gonna say anything, dude. Like, it's like this coolest fucking theater ever. I saw one of a very intense screening that I saw there. That is very. Who would have thought? I saw AI.
Oh wow. Okay. And why was it intense?
Because at the very end. When he gets visited by aliens
and
he talks about his mom, like you hear people crying and sniffling, and I'm like, I'm almost like I'm gonna cry. Like this is an intense, and even the fucking the effects still hold up, and that's like what early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah, that's a old film at this point. Yeah,
and it's like it still held up. To certain points, but it's still like it was an amazing movie to see, and then I saw Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And that was like the worst thing I've ever fucking saw in my whole entire fucking life. Like I wish I didn't go to see that in theaters. I could just see it at home. I'd be fine. But seeing all those horrific scenes, from the mom going to do the lobotomy, and then the sort of that scene, I have that engraved into my brain. I remember like a couple of days later, I had like nightmares. Like I was not okay. And I was like, oh my god! And you could hear people like, oh my, like looking away, like, oh fuck, what, like it's like, but that feeling, you know what I mean? Like, oh shit, like you are in it, and like that was the worst thing. I regret. And then I don't know if you know Salo.
No.
Salo, 102 Days of Sodom. It's this 1970s movie, and I think it's from Italy. If you look it up, you're gonna know why it's fucked up. But if people do know what Salo is it's an I think Nazi occupied country, and four higher up people like government officials capture like I think a bunch of kids and torture them.
Oh my god!
And so it has a Criterion release too.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. And so that the movie's horrible. And,
oh really?
I mean,
like bad as in the content.
Also, it's like beautifully shot. It's beautifully edited. Sweat design's crazy. Cinematography is really good. It's set in gorgeous Italy. The houses in it are huge, mansion. It's masterful. But the actual contents, like of abducting children and then torturing them in such a horrific way is crazy.
Man, when movies get you right there in your chest, where you just like you feel like you're there, it's how it's a roller coaster,
I saw Kids. Have you seen Kids?
No.
Kids 1995 by Harmony Korine. He made Gummo.
Okay.
And so
I'm familiar with Harmony
Beach Bum.
Yeah.
So he, it's free on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 1995. It's set in New York City, and it's in the height of the AIDS epidemic.
Oh man.
And so it's about a group of friends. It focuses on a group of girls, and then two friends who are two dudes. The group of girls gets tested for HIV, and one of them has HIV.
Mm-hmm.
And so this girl goes on this long trip to find the guy who gave her HIV.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so, I mean, the guy who gave her HIV doesn't know he has HIV and continues to have unprotected sex.
Mm.
And so I saw it in a packed theater at the Arrow, and there is a couple of very R-worded scenes, and you could tell, the intensity of those scenes and of the actors. You feel it in the air, you feel it in everybody you're sitting next to. You hear people walk out.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the most, because I was like, I think we're in the third row, and so you're like up there and you get to, I'm like, oh fuck man, this is fucking horrible. But yeah, dude, it's crazy.
With filmmaking, especially the movies that do go in those uncharted waters, where it being like a roller coaster, you also have the moral. Because when you go on a roller coaster, you don't think about like, is this okay?
Destination, yeah.
Yeah, right. you with films though, when you have that elevated feeling and you're watching something that's crazy, you think, is this wrong what I'm watching? I had that feeling with the ABCs of Death for certain segments, which I'm not even going to detail, but there are certain short films in there where I'm just like, this is wrong. This is just wrong. This is disgusting. But did I need to see it?
Yes.
Is it good that I watched it in the long run? And probably.
Yeah. So
that I can know that, oh man, that's fucked up, dude. And now I know, before I was like, yeah, that's messed up. If I hear about what you mentioned, the R word, let's say, oh yeah, that's really bad. But seeing it depicted in a film,
it's horrible.
Oh my God, Jesus, dude. Battle Royale does that really well also. The Battle Royale. Have you seen that?
I've heard of it.
Okay. Well, it's like the original Hunger Games in many ways, where it's about these, I think it's a Japanese film based on a manga, I think. And it's about these kids who are on a school trip. They're just driving down and then they go off course and they don't know this ahead of time, but they are taken to this island where they are positioned to kill each other. Like the Hunger Games, essentially. But unlike the Hunger Games, this is a brutal, hardcore. It's a movie that Tarantino will cite as one of his favorite films out there, because it is very brutal. It's frightening.
There's this guy, I think, Takashi Mike, and he's kind of, I forgot where he's from, but he's a filmmaker who Eli Roth has cited as like one of the best horror films. He has an appearance in Hostel, I think.
Oh wow, okay.
And I watched Ichi the Killer, and so Ichi, I mean, it was a pretty crazy movie. Like it's like the Dark Knight. So when an immovable object meets what is it?
Unstoppable force.
Unstoppable force.
Yeah.
So there's Ichi the Killer, and there's this other guy who are these, one guy who can kill people with having no remorse, and there's one guy who gets off on killing people. And so they have to, the guy who gets off on killing people has this like, I want to meet this guy who has no remorse for killing people. Like, I want him to kill me. It's like the ultimate gift. And so there's some crazy scenes in that. Like, I think it's in the 90s, and it's like almost on Hellraiser shit, where they got a guy and they hang him in fish hooks on his back.
Oh wow!
And they clip it in there, and you can see the skin stretch.
Ooh, damn!
Yeah, and so that was like, oh fuck, this is a bit much.
Yeah.
And like that's crazy. I think another movie that comes to mind is In the Mood for Love.
Oh, that's a great film.
That's it. Yeah, I saw it in theaters too. So
That's a
like
great
that,
film.
yeah, that sort of it's an like it's like an amazing love story. You know what
Yeah.
I mean, and how it's shot. It's
Mm-hmm.
always like in between, or it's always like just one person talking while the other person is on the other side. You can't see them.
Yeah.
So it's like it's shot in a way like as you're seeing this conversation that you shouldn't see, or you're seeing
Yeah.
this sort of like relationship that happens, and it's like it's also it's like shot so sensually. It's shot with
Yeah.
like love, and it's like that's an amazing fucking movie.
It has the look of being peripheral
Mm-hmm.
almost and forbidden, like what you mentioned about this relationship not shouldn't it shouldn't be, even though you want it as a viewer, you really want it. And that's the genius of that film where, you can barely see the figures, you can barely see the couple as it
Yeah.
were, and you want to see more.
Yeah.
You want to see more of them, you want to see more of their relationship, and the ending is just heartbreaking. That is a fantastic film. Yeah, my cousin Will and his mom, my aunt, for Christmas last year got me a subscription to the Criterion channel.
Nice.
So banging. I got to watch some films like that. In the Mood for Love, the original Police Story with Jackie Chan.
Okay.
Yeah, which is ridiculous, awesome, fun film. And yeah, there's some great films out there, man. Another thing that you and I think have a shared love for is hip hop.
Yep.
You love MF Doom. Look right
I
there.
know,
Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy, dude.
The MF Doom mask hanging, looking at you right now. Have you been listening to anything recent? Like any recent guys, old guys?
Like recently, there's always a guy that I always go back to. His name's Seafood Sam.
Seafood Sam?
Seafood Sam. He's from Long Beach.
Okay.
And I found him on TikTok, I think, and then I started listening. It's like very, old school rap with this sort of like Mad Lib sort of beats with it, sort of instrumental or like jazz or sort of like, but it's very like, gangster rap. He like talks about, there's one song called Hood Vogue, I think, or is it called El Camino Dreams? Where he's like, he's like, he talks about picking up his friend from prison. He's like,
Yeah.
you go up in the Rafe. I'll smoke. He's like, I'll smoke Kush. I'll smoke clouds in the officer's face.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's super cool. He has like this amazing sort of gangster flow. He hasn't. I wish he would go on tour or something like that. He's super fucking cool. I've been listening to that. I always listen to that. I mean, as of recently, most of my music has been like reggaeton.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so I've listened to like a lot of Bad Bunny, and I love Bad Bunny, and my Spanish I'm trying to get better at it so I can understand what he's saying. But of course, I've always had a love for finding samples.
Oh, okay.
Like
Yeah.
From MF Doom or for any sort of rappers that use like that sort of like one note from the song or one lyric, like of course like the Anita Baker song,
Yeah.
that MF Doom samples, or the Quincy Jones song that MF Doom samples, like these, like finding that actual song, it's like, oh my god, the actual song, like no wonder he sampled this. This is an amazing fucking song, like that, and then besides that, like alternative rock.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like I've been listening to like a lot of what is it, Radiohead, and I don't know, that's pretty much it. Sometimes like I don't know if this is for you, but like when I listen to music, sometimes like like whenever I come up with stories, whenever I think of characters, I always it's because of the music. The music triggers that. Does that happen?
Yeah, is it for you? Is it the lyrics or is it the tone, the feeling that it invokes?
It's sort of like I don't know. Every time I talk, it sounds like I'm crazy. So like, it's not even like that. Like sometimes it just be the song. So
Right.
like sometimes, like Pink Floyd, for example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Pink Floyd is someone, or Roger Waters, Wish You Were Here and Dark Side of the Moon. Like I can listen to those and then I can like this would be a really like, oh, that would be really cool. Like imagine like it just to be like a desert or something like that, or like men getting ready for war, men getting ready to fight, and you just hear, Shine On You Crazy Diamond in
Yeah.
the background. It's like this intense, like that. It would trigger a story that I thought of, and then come into mind and or into fruition that scene in the plot and such.
Yeah, I think I'm very similar when it comes to writing,
Yeah.
or more conceiving, because I don't write with a track in mind. That maybe I'll listen. Like today, I was doing some writing before we met for a short film, and I was listening more to like ambience on YouTube or something, and it helps keep the rhythm up.
Yeah.
Usually I don't write to a rhythm. I just write to what feels right. But it can help like put gas in the engine while you're still running. You know what I mean? So when it comes to writing films, because you and I are both in that, we want to do that.
We are going to.
We're going to.
Yeah.
We have and are going to. What is it? Is it any genre for you? Is it a specific genre for you? I know people who are into writing mainly horror, comedy. Is it all? Is it all accessible?
Usually, I mean, I used to think when I was a kid, I would always want to make like sci-fi, like science, like aliens and robots and the unknown, really. The older I get, and where I'm at now, I'm so interested in like life and people, and I think people's stories need to be told, and if you can tell it in such a beautiful and artistic way, so most of the stories that I do come up with are often maybe like getting to the point of a character study, or getting to the point of an obstacle that the character has to go through. Or I mean, like, the one thing I love to write about is like crime, like thrillers, like was it Point Break? Like, I love that shit. Like Undercover Cop, or like or 21 Jump Street, but make it dramatic. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like people who want to be civil, so people who want to do good, but they do it on their own terms. Like that's my bread and butter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I love to do like drama. Like I love to write, a dad or a mom or a couple or a young couple who are trying to figure out love, or men or trying to overcome obstacles. There's a couple stories. I have like on my phone and on my notebooks, I have like 4 or 5 stories that I always go to and I always think about. They're always on my mind, and one of them is about my father. And so like I don't think my dad would be happy if I made this movie, but like it's about him,
right?
And it's about it's sort of like, what is the butterfly effect in my father's life? What if when I was born he got deported? And so like that is the whole entire thing, him going back to his hometown and sort of have to deal with his own demons by himself, and having to come back on his own terms, having to illegally come back to America when he's been deported for 10 years,
right?
You know what I mean? So like that, or like experiences in my life, and I put my own twist on it, a breakup, or a friendship, or a girl or a guy I meet, like, imagine if this, like, like what Richard Linklater did. I love that. I fantasize about it all the time. Like, imagine if I did meet a person.
The first thing I thought of when you were talking about that was Richard Linklater.
That's like, he's like I love him. He's a big inspiration. I mean, I haven't got to mention it, but of course Terrence Malick is like one of my biggest inspirations in my like to be such a cinematic and even intellectual in such a way to create stories and have them, I don't even know, like I think The Tree of Life and Days of Heaven and Itomo Tambien have always had this crux on me. Like, I've always wanted to tell such a story that is beyond words. It's what you're seeing, the how the camera moves, it immerses you into this world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. There are films where it takes things that are ordinary and kind of unravels them.
Yes.
Because everything is, you either believe that everything is based on coincidence or the antithesis, which is chaos, right? Yeah. And films like that do question those elements.
Yeah.
And they use real world people, regular things as ciphers for those questions. And I could see that in terms of being an inspiration for you, especially because we've talked about films and we've talked about in the past, we've talked about movies we want to make and the ideas and stuff, because you've been working on all sorts of projects for school and everything, and projects you want to in the future develop. So I see that, I see the link later in the I was about to say David Zaslav. That's not a filmmaker. What is that? But that type of direction I can see as a big point of inspiration for you.
Yeah. What I really want to do is write and shoot. I don't want anybody, if I have a story to tell, I want to tell it in my own way.
Yeah.
I don't want to be held. I don't want it to be taken away from me. I don't want it to be skewed in such a way. I have this story that I created is, it's a part of me. You know what I mean? And I don't want anybody to, I want to shoot it.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, this is how it's supposed to look. This is what it looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The similar to like when Stallone was getting the first Rocky made.
Oh, I saw that video. Yeah, he talks about it. And I think I saw him on Stern.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's talking. Was he? Okay, because the whole thing of like, it's me with it.
Yeah.
It's not it and me to the side. It's a package deal.
Yeah.
And that's that's a courage we all have to achieve, just in life.
Yeah, and I think that's what's hard too, is that like you get independent filmmakers, or you get people who are filmmakers, regardless if they're independent, they make something really good. They make something, amazing. And like, I think, what's his name? Who directed the Spider-Man movies?
Sam Raimi.
No.
Or the original, or the new ones?
The new ones.
John Watts. John Watts, yeah.
So I think he came off as an independent person.
Yeah. Compared to the rest of that world of films, right?
Zhao too.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and so like it's so crazy because then you get snatched up and you gotta like, okay, well, here's a movie, or here are movies that you're going to help create. And I'm like, that's something that's crazy too, because it's like, are you limited, or is this what you wanted?
Yeah, because with Watts, he certainly brought his vision of Spider-Man. Because they find the people who'd make the independent films, and then they take them to the bigger films and all that. But Watts, it wasn't. I don't know if it was just a hired hand with him, because, well, for one thing, Spider-Man is such a big character, bigger than I think most of the MCU characters, and also he brought like the indie quality to those films.
Yeah, I think he for sure brought that with the third one.
Yes, yeah. I feel it with all of them, and I think that's something that people have been critical of when it came to his version of Spider-Man, indie quality.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's been.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah, it's been told so many times. So like, why?
Yeah.
Obviously, he gets bitten by a fucking radioactive spider. It's been in like, it's been known for like what, like almost 50,
60 years.
Yeah,
60 years.
Like, who the fuck cares?
We know that shit.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I'm mad that you didn't do this. I'm like, well, there's another movie you can watch. There's
That's
another
true,
book you could read about it.
More movies coming out. Morbius.
Morbin time.
It's Morbin time. Did you watch Morbius?
No.
You don't plan on watching it?
I didn't watch Morbius. I didn't watch Black Widow. I didn't watch Doctor Strange too.
I know you're a fan of Venom.
Yeah, I didn't watch the second one.
You didn't watch the second film?
Yeah, it's exhausting, because then it's just like, I'm gonna go to the movies and it's like Venom 2, and it's like, and it's Spider-Man 3, and then it's like all these things, like, well, like where's the other stories?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so crazy to think about, like, what if all those ArcLight cinemas are still unoccupied, and what if Disney just bought it and just showed strictly Disney movies? I think that happened with Hateful Eight. Yeah,
they pushed Tarantino out of the Cinerama Dome. Yeah. That when Star Wars was coming out, The Force Awakens, it was like, you need to give us the theater, or we're taking Star Wars out of all your theaters, and you got to kick Hateful Eight out for Star Wars. or you're done.
Yeah, which
essentially
is like the ultimate David versus Goliath.
Oh my God, that's insane.
It is.
That's insane.
But he was super mad about it. I mean,
rightfully so. He was mad about that.
But I would be. I mean, hey, do what you got to do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's his like what 7th movie.
Well, I thought, isn't it not his 8th film?
Is it his 8th?
I think so.
Yeah.
It would be odd if it was his 7th movie.
Yes, I mean,
Hatefully. But yeah, no, I completely get where he was coming with that, because they shot it in film. He had the intent of having it in that theater.
Yeah.
You know, that's come on. Yeah. You know, it's Star Wars. It's gonna make money. Yeah, and I mean, the Cinerama Dome is a very popular theater, but it's not gonna make the amount of money that AMC's all over the world are gonna make with Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Yeah. Dude. This ain't Solo. This is The Force Awakens, dude. No, I was with Tarantino on that. And with Tarantino coming out recently saying he wouldn't do a Marvel film, did you hear that quote of his? He talked about not being a hired hand and everything. You know, they just pluck people, like what we were talking about with John Watts and all that. And I'm glad to have heard him say that, because even though it would have been interesting, I just want Tarantino to focus on his own
make his
shit.
Own movies, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Tarantino film? I think I might know which one it is, but do you have a favorite?
I don't know. I mean, like, it's so funny. Like, people love him, or they really like people who love movies and people who are into film and stuff like that. You always hear a guy like, oh, I want to make movies like Tarantino, or like, I want to be the next Tarantino, you know?
Yeah.
And he's such an outlier.
He is.
Like, you know, like there's no one, I don't think anybody can be that and make, like, have his second feature film be like one of the best movies of all time.
Right.
Which is like, I mean, I don't know anybody could make a Pulp Fiction. Like Pulp Fiction 2, you know.
No, nor should anyone be the next Tarantino, you know.
Yeah, but I think it's Pulp Fiction.
Fiction?
I saw.
I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, I love the soundtrack. I think I recently rewatched it, and I was like, oh shit, this is great. And I saw it in theaters too. I had that same experience we were talking about earlier, where it's a packed theater, everybody's knee to knee, and everybody's like, you know. Oh yeah, and everyone's like, you know, knows the lyrics, you know, and knows the words, you know, the whole entire apartment scene, you know, the foot massage. Like, I know, like, you know, like, that's funny, you know. And it's just like that. I think that's, and like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood were top 2, but yeah, with him, I mean, it's always like, you know, I don't think I've tried watching Inglourious Bastards. I really couldn't get into it. Same thing with like Django Unchained and Hateful Eight.
Okay.
But I love, like, you know, Pulp Fiction. I love Once Upon a Time. I like Jackie Brown. I like, you know, Kill Bill 1 and 2, yeah.
I think Jackie Brown might be his most underrated film. Yeah. It's the one you don't hear much about, because I don't know why. I guess because it's not as spontaneous as his later work. Things like Inglourious Bastards, Django Unchained, but like Death Proof and stuff like that. Kill Bill.
Yeah, it's not in your face.
Yeah, it's not in your face. It's not, you know, too much poetry, too much rhymes and all that. It's just a nice, clean. It has its Tarantino features, but it's almost like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood reminded me a lot of that and Pulp Fiction. You know, in terms of he held back with that movie, and that's why.
It's so good.
That's why I think it's so good, yeah, because it wasn't the big fucking. I mean, it's almost a commentary on his previous career, you know, with the Western parts, almost like, you know, talking about Hateful Eight and Django, the parts with just the whole idea of Hollywood and filmmaking and everything. It's great. Yeah, I really like that film a lot. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I was someone who was worried about it.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Did you ever share that worry going into it, or were you just like, show me the movie?
I don't think. I mean, was the worry about just Sharon Tate?
Yeah.
Also,
it was how my worry mainly was how Tarantino was going to handle the whole Sharon Tate, Charles Manson, everything.
Who's the fuckface? Who's the rapist?
Oh, Roman Polanski. That's right. Yeah, Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
That whole thing got me worried.
That was weird.
That was weird.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah.
But besides, I don't think he would want. I mean, of course, he wants to invoke some sort of feeling with people,
Right.
right? But I think the people who were worried about the most after that was just probably the whole what is it, Bruce Lee thing.
Yeah. Of all the things people got upset about, it was Bruce Lee, and I get it, but yeah, that wasn't the number one thing on my mind. Were you offended? Did you care about the Bruce Lee thing? Like, what did you think about it?
I don't really care. I like that scene. My fucking car. I love that scene. And then Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Cliff, what are you doing? You know, get out of my set and get fucked.
Yeah.
I love that.
Pack your shit.
Yeah.
And get the fuck out.
I don't dig him. He's a goddamn war hero.
Yeah, I know,
He
right?
killed his wife.
He killed his wife.
Oh, that bullshit! I love that. But it's such a quotable movie too.
I know, yeah. I love that, man. It's been too long since I've watched that film.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I think that's the last film pre-pandemic that I watched like multiple times in the theater. I don't think I'd watched any other film that many times in the theaters.
4 or 5 times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those movies.
It is.
It's one of those movies that just makes you want to drive and listen to music and just party. You know?
Just like that, yeah.
You know? I mean, come on. That's a hell of a film.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think Tarantino's last film is going to be?
I don't know. I mean, he has a kid. He has 2 kids, right?
Oh, he has 2?
I think he has 2 or 1. I don't remember.
I know he has like 1 at least.
Yeah, and then he has his new book. So I mean, I would hope it's like a semi-autobiographical movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's not. I think wasn't True Romance kind of about him?
I don't know if it was about him.
Well, I think the Christian Slater character was.
Oh, was it supposed to be
kind of like
him?
a music? You know, he was super into Elvis.
Right, that's true.
Tarantino
Yeah,
was super into Elvis, and he worked at a comic book store. Tarantino
right.
comic books, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
What a great fucking movie that is too.
Yeah, and does that count as one of his? I don't. No, because
Natural Born Killers or that don't count.
he just wrote.
He wrote them and just got paid for it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I would be down to see something that's almost because he's described whatever he will do as the last film as like an epilogue, whereas Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was the big, grand finale, and this would be an epilogue.
So like a Jackie Brown.
Yeah, something. I would be cool if it was something like Jackie Brown or like another, not another Pulp Fiction, but something in that vein where it experiments a bit. Autobiographical would be interesting. I know that Spielberg's coming out with a movie like that.
The Fabelmans.
Yeah, and that looks fantastic.
That's crazy. Yeah, there's that and The Emperor of the Light, so 2 movies about movies.
Yeah, and I'm very excited for those ones, man. With Tarantino's last film, I mean, I've always been down with the idea of Kill Bill 3, but I think the time for that's kind of passed. I don't know. I don't want it to be another Western. I don't want it to be a Star Trek film.
Yeah, I don't want it to have a sort of set theme.
Like a genre?
Yeah,
like,
genre.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a genre. Hopefully it's something set in LA, and hopefully, I mean, it would be cool to have to be about him, you know?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, maybe the Vega brothers. I don't know.
the old ass Vega brothers, they're resurrected.
They're resurrected. Yeah, that'd be sick.
It was Thanos' snap that brought them back.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. The thing is about Tarantino is that even though he wouldn't do that stuff, he's very invested in that comic book culture and everything. He had since Reservoir Dogs has had. Since Natural Born Killers has had references to the whole comic culture and everything. So I've always wondered what a comic book, like a straight up comic book movie would be like from him. I think Django's probably the closest thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he had the idea of doing a Luke Cage film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, did you know? Did you hear about that? Yeah, he had the idea of doing a movie about Luke Cage, and it would be Lawrence Fishburne who played the character,
That's crazy.
Yeah. Fucking the Foot Warrior. You know what? I'm gonna call this episode The Foot Warrior. Actually,
The Return.
The Foot Warrior's last triumph.
I had this idea
Yeah.
of a movie. And I don't know if it's similar or if it could be one.
Okay.
But it was sort of about, I guess it's kind of like The Fablemans or something like that, where it's the retelling of a father's or a parent's of their childhood and movies related to it.
Oh, okay.
You know, and they're telling their daughter, who is also interested in film, and you know, it's a sort of like Christmas sort of story where they sit together and he talks about his life in Hollywood, from making movies, from starring them, creating his own movies, and sort of giving him the sort of behind the scenes of every movie he's made. You know, and giving sort of the drama or some of the, like, imagine, you know, like what it was like to be on set for Pulp Fiction, or to film any of those scenes in Reservoir Dogs, or any of his movies, or having to sell his stories like Natural Born Killers and True Romance to make money. You know what I mean? Or in meeting, you know, Robert Rodriguez and stuff like that. Like, imagine, you know, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Of a fictional telling of his life.
Yeah. And it sounds like something he would totally do. You know?
Yeah.
The whole, like, because he'd include, like, kung fu fights, gun shootouts, drugs, women, and everything. Yeah. Like, who would you get to play? It'd have to be. It sounds like the Weird Al film coming out with Daniel Radcliffe, where it's not based on his life at all.
Yeah,
it's just like a parody on the biopic.
Yeah,
you know, I'm very excited for that.
I think it already came out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Fuck this podcast. Get my accordion and go, dude. And I'm excited to listen to this at work. Because the thing is, you actually have a very nice like voice for like radio or podcast or whatever.
Dude, you're not the first one to tell me that.
Oh really?
Yeah, I thought about like podcasting, and it's just that, like, I don't want to talk about myself. Then I gotta find somebody that's also like interested in movies. So I've always wanted to, like, like whenever I'm in class, dude.
Yeah.
I always go on like IMDb, Variety, or Deadline, or what is it, Movie Maker, or whatever it's called, and just look at movie shit. You know, like it's like the best thing ever. It's like when you're in class and the professor's teaching you something, and you're like, I'd rather just go on IMDb and look at Paul Schrader's filmography. You know,
yeah,
and that's what I usually do. I mean, like I don't know, I you know, there's pastors, there's people who preach you know, the word of God and shit like that. You know, I am someone who preaches the word of going to the movie theater,
of the theater going experience.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think that I was put on this earth for some sort of reason to help people. You know what I mean? And through my journey of living and continuing to be alive and figuring out what I want to do with my life, you know, I didn't think that was my thing, being a civil servant. So I was like, well, I mean, there's something I cherish so much was the times I got to see movies with my father. And movies, I mean, not even like, you know, people have video cameras, you know, when they were a kid, like he used to film shit when he was little.
Yeah.
You know, my father, he used to work at Circuit City, and so he always had would bring me movies to like shut me up. You know?
Yeah.
So I have like this huge booklet of fucking all these Disney movies, Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and other dinosaur, you know, the old 1990 Transformer TV shows, and Tarzan, all of these crazy, you know, PBS movies and shit like that. And I have this huge thing of it. And then he got it from me from Circuit City. And so like I've always enjoyed that, you know. I'd always have a great time with movies. And my mom, she's not, I mean, she's an amazing woman, but I don't think she's that artistic. So, but she has a very good taste in movies. So my father, like what I would like to say is like my father showed me movies, and my mother showed me films. So, like my mom, like she knows like good movies. Like, you know, she told me, like I had a situation a couple weeks ago, and you know, like I said before, like Richard Linklater, somehow his filmography and him has resonated with me so much. Yeah. And so I've always wanted to make my own before trilogy, but set in like Los Angeles, set in my own lens. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, you know, I told my mom about this, and I was telling her about like the story and the situation. Like the my Before trilogy, same thing with Richard Linklater's Before trilogy. It like it's based on real events. Like this is based on a relationship I had. My version, and that's amazing. Isn't that fucking crazy? That movie inspired me to make a fucking movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I don't know, like that's all I want to do. Let's talk about movies and watch movies.
Here we are.
I know.
And we do
it. And it's just that like it's amazing, people like to immerse, like it's so big. There's so many like behind the scenes. Like there's hundreds of people that make your favorite fucking movie.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of people that, and you could be like, I don't know, I don't really know how I feel about movies. Like I really like watching movies, but I don't know if I could take it as a career. You could be whatever the fuck. There's hundreds of jobs out there, and there's hundreds of programs and opportunities and places and foundations and organizations that are willing to help you to get into that world. Because that world, I think what I really want to do, I'm talking too much.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
What I really want to do, I told this to one of my classes too, is that I feel like the Antichrist.
In what way? How so? Wait, what?
So I really would want to make and rebuild and reconstruct a space for people who have that sort of doubt within themselves, people who can't afford, or people who don't have the ability or don't know if they can pursue something this unsure. You know what I mean? Like you can say like this is a very unsure field that we are in.
Yeah.
Something that you had to know somebody. Unfortunately, nepotism is something that is kind of here in this industry, and now that you see that there's also with Harvey Weinstein,
right?
That there's predatory behavior, that there is sexual harassment, that there's abuse, there's mental and physical exhaustion as well being on film sets. There's that documentary that Hacksaw Wesker, a famous cinematographer, did called Who Needs Sleep. Have you ever seen it?
No.
So I think it's early 2000s, and it's about PAs, and it's about working on set.
Yeah.
And
it's a miserable job.
Yeah, it's before like the whole entire IGETC or IETC, that thing, people were anonymously leaving, messages about how they were treated on set. It's horrible. People, sometimes you hear stories that they were able to eat and they're on set for like 18 hours.
Yeah.
And they're in the middle of butt fuck nowhere and drive home and fucking crash and die. It's it's like horrible. It's horrific. These, the treatment, that makes me like, I don't want to, like, why the fuck would I want to be a PA, bro?
Yeah.
Like, why would I want to start, go through the ranks, like, no, dude, this is the 1950s, dude. Like, I'm gonna go,
especially when you're able to do it yourself, accessibly.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
The technology.
You have a smartphone. You can get, buy some shitty equipment that it is shitty because it's cheap, but I mean, it gets the fucking job done, and it gets it, and as long as you believe in it, as long as you're passionate, and no matter what shitty equipment that you have, it's going to be something beautiful. It's going to be something so you and so pure, and people are going to see that artistic. So and that's and then people need to know that. I mean,
it's true. Yeah, people do need to understand that.
And then like the film industry, it's so dominated by these big budget things, and you see slowly that you do see independent movies, you do see smaller movies, but it's so misconstrued. Or sometimes like one movie I don't want to see is Armageddon Time.
Which one is that?
It's by James Gray. So James Gray made Ad Astra with Brad Pitt.
Oh, okay.
And it was a really crazy movie.
Right.
You ever seen it?
No, and I've heard all sorts of things about it, but I've never seen it.
It's crazy. I mean, it's cool because like, I forgot the story, but it was like Brad Pitt's in it.
Right.
And it's like, oh shit, Brad Pitt's in space.
Yeah.
Like, oh fuck, that's some sick. And this is like, I think a year after Once Upon a Time. So that's when we had the Brad Pitt era right now.
Yeah.
And so it was cool, and like, it's shot really cool. And it's this big space movie, and he has to find his dad who's stuck in this other fucking black horse. I don't fucking know, bro. But he made this movie called Armageddon Time, and it's about this white kid who is friends with this black kid, and they have to like, you know, and he finds out like his black friend is treated, you know, horribly because of, you know, racism, because of segregation and all that shit. And, you know, I mean, like, bro, your name's James Gray, you're a white guy, and like, I don't think you should have the ability, or should, you know, tell a story of such ways, you know. Like,
yeah.
And he's like, there's also like this sort of, like, I don't like that, you
Right.
know, like, this is just like, I don't think this is a story that, you know, people were expecting. Like, you're this big space dude, you make big budget, and you're like, I'm gonna make a statement,
Yeah.
you know. And I don't know, I mean, you see that too, and then you also see like people shit on people, and then like, remember Chloe Zhao in Eternals?
What about it?
Well, people didn't like it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just annoying sometimes. Like, people, there's that, like, people make statements. And there's also like, you don't know. Like, that's why I don't like doing reviews, and I don't like people who do reviews. I don't like people who critique films, because you don't know what it's like to be on set for almost 2 years of your fucking life to make a fucking movie, and whether regardless it's shitty, like, that is hard work.
It is, yeah.
And you're like, this movie fucking sucks. And it's like, dog, I'd like you to meet the people, the gaffers, the people who were on this set. They tell them that their fucking movie that they worked so hard on sucks.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I hate too. It's like, you know, enjoy it. You know, this is something you know, even though it's a shitty space movie, you never been to space.
Yeah.
What the fuck you know about space, bro?
It's well, no, I was about to quote Star Wars. That's not what that is. It's not coarse or rough and gets everywhere. That's sand.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that movie sucked. But no, yeah, your voice vibrates the eardrums very well.
Nice.
And it is a voice for podcasting.
Thanks.
And and take it from me, someone who's been doing it for a bit. You're a mentor, as it were, a professional. We can go with. You are someone who can very well do it.
You think
too.
so?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll be sick, dude. I'll be talking about movies and shit, bro.
Yeah, just go off, because the perspective of we did it is important to have.
Yeah, I mean,
on anything.
Yeah,
you know.
For sure.
So I am very happy to have had this conversation with you. I want to eat the potatoes now.
Yeah.
They're right there. They're looking at me, and they're lit very well. They look selectable. So we're going to do that now. Hector, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me, my friend.
Of course, dude.
It's been too long. We're going to get some coffee soon.
True.
There's some coffee right there.
Right there.
All right, my friend. Have a good one. Stay safe, and goodbye.